Here we go then, time for qualifying ahead of the Belgian Grand Prix in 2026. It's round 10 this season, and for the 59th time we race in a Formula 1 World Championship Grand Prix at this historic track, one of the four still on the calendar that we raced in back in 1950. And in terms of qualifying, how important is it? Well, pole sitter hasn't won any of the last four Belgian Grand Prix, and stat rather skewed though by the fact that Max Verstappen was quickest in Q3 for 3 years running and didn't take pole because of power unit penalties. He still went on and won the race in 22 and 23 as well. Is he there with a shout for this season, or is Kimi Antonelli going to continue his impressive speed and form, fastest in FP2 and FP3? The tyres this year, C4, C3, C2, and the leading runners and riders all have four brand new sets of the soft compound tyres to take into a qualifying session which, don't pinch yourself too hard, is going to be set in bright sunshine and glorious warm weather. Martin Brundle alongside me in the commentary box. We've been coming here for years. That is not a scene we often see here, Martin. No rain anywhere to be found.
Doesn't look spectacular out into the countryside there. The wonderful thing about these established racetracks is you couldn't build a track like that anymore these days. And so we should treasure them, and we do. And I'm looking forward to the drivers having a good thrash around here, trying to find a little bit of extra speed and grip and a bit of dander on the brakes, and just to see what they can do to get their cars up the grid. And it's an important grid here because there's a lot of peril going into the first corner of the race because it's such a short run into that first hairpin. So the knock-on effect of your grid slot matters a lot here.
And once you get out of the source, you've got that long drag along the Kemmel Straight to the next braking zone, and Slipstream's very important too. So who's going to be there and in with a shout behind Kimi Antonelli, because he does look like the one to beat, and only really he can lose this today, surely.
Well, we'll find out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm quite as certain about that as other members of our team, including.
Really?
But he is flying. There's no doubt about it. He is the man to beat. But he's got to get out there and do it. And we'll see when they take the fuel out and everything is turned up to 11. What everybody, what a Ferrari got. I know Lando Norris has got a grid penalty, but he still needs as high a grid slot as he can get before he takes that penalty to have 10 places. So we'll see what the others have got, and whether George Russell, he can pull a lap out of the bag when he needs to, and he's had to do that a few times this season. So we're about to find out.
The scene of one of George Russell's most impressive qualifying performances ever. Front row here in 2021 in the rain, driving for Williams that day, and he really showed what he could do around Spa, and boy would he like some of that this weekend, where he has been lagging behind somewhat. Lagging might have been the problem for Max Verstappen's gear shifts, so he's still not completely happy with the way the gearbox is behaving. And well, there's Lando Norris, and as you mentioned, Martin, a 10-place grid penalty for him, one of four drivers that will receive grid penalties because they've taken extra additional elements to their power unit. 10 places for Lando Norris, also for Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, whose teammate Fernando Alonso, along with Isaac Hadjar, will start at the back of the grid because they've taken on even more penalties.
So I'm getting in the cockpit there. I mean, the cockpit fits the driver like the finest Savile suit, but it's very claustrophobic in there when they put the headrest on and the halo in front of you, and you're getting hot straight away. You can see how sweaty Max was just sitting in the car. You're in amongst a lot of heat sources, and then you can start to hear your breathing. And it's not a problem when you're a regular driver, but I notice when I jump back in them, and you feel so blocked inside there, and you can start hearing your breathing, and I get a little bit claustrophobic actually.
Q1 is underway.
A very small lift.
It's a very small garage, in terms of a very low roof as well for Fernando Alonso. We saw Isaac Hadjar coming into the garage and about to get into his car. Is his job today get into Q3, which is done in every single Grand Prix this season, and then be the ultimate wingman for Max Verstappen? Because whatever he does once he's in Q3, it doesn't matter because he's starting at the back of the grid.
You'd think so, wouldn't you, that they will play that game. It's not always that easy to choreograph, especially on such a long racetrack as this. Getting him, but you would imagine Red Bull will try to use him to at least give Max a really good slipstream up to Leclerc. Then you want the driver out of the way then to give you nice clean air coming down the hill.
It's the sort of thing if you can get the slipstream right, then you can gain a couple of tenths and maybe then push your setup more towards more downforce for the middle sector, because you know you're going to get that reduction in drag along the straights.
And maybe save a little bit of battery power for later on in the lap as well.
Good point, well made. We are underway. We've already had a minute of this qualifying session. Longest lap on the calendar. Come on, everyone, better get on with this. To be honest, it's Q1, and we wait to see who the slowest 6 cars will be.
Hundreds of millions of dollars spent in each and every team, and the hand controls it all, doesn't it? In the pit lane, the power of the hand.
They're all going to come out at the same time, aren't they? They're all going to come out at exactly the same time. At the moment, it's hurry up and wait. So let's head down to the pit lane. And, well, if the flags in the grandstand are to be believed, St. Bernadette, good afternoon.
Well, I've got news for you, Crofty. I'm actually not in the pit lane, I'm in race control. I'm next door to you. I've just in a separate little box that you can't see me.
Hello, Bernie.
But hopefully this gives me more access to data, so that's great. But I wanted to quickly point out Perez, Bottas, Stroll that we have on track now. I think these three drivers are potentially going to do 3 runs of a single time lap in each run. It's just about time for that here at Spa. It'll give them the best chance of trying to make positions in this Q1, or potentially can someone be quick enough to get to Q2 if there's a red flag or something. That would be optimistic, but that's potentially what they're trying to play with these 3 cars.
Thank you very much indeed. Did you like your flag, by the way, in the crowd?
Oh, I love a bit of support, Crofty. Love a bit of support.
Are you going to
Thank you very much to everyone out there. It's great.
Are you going to go and find them later?
Potentially not. I don't have no idea where they were, but let's see.
I can actually see through the window now in your little rabbit hutch. Are you on your own in there?
I've got Mark, sign down.
Tiny little boxes, aren't they?
They are the smallest commentary boxes of the season here in Spa. Comfy and bijou, I think, is the phrase. Look, here's 2 Cadillacs already out on the track, Martin Grundle. This is the Slipstream and what they are practicing.
Indeed, and you can see how hard the second of those 2 cars was climbing the hill. Sergio Perez's car was hitting the ground going up through Eau Rouge corner, and you can brake so late up there because it's slightly uphill and plenty of grip through the chicane as well. And we'll talk about some of these corners because we've seen some corners now with this power unit, which we've got to make some changes for next year and the year after, but it's taken away the bravery of a corner like Pouhon, which is turns 10 and 11. But that means the drivers are now focusing on corners like we've just seen there, no name Jackie X, some people call it, where they really push the limits of the car, and then the exit of the Fanish chicane, where we've seen Lewis and Pierre Gasly in the barriers there as well. So the drivers are having to transfer their attack to different parts of this racetrack this weekend.
I don't know if Sergio Perez is getting disturbed by any turbulent wake behind Valtteri Bottas, or if they've actually managed the gap absolutely perfectly here, but he's going to get another really good dose of slipstream, heading now through Blanchimont and all the way up to the bus stop chicane. Valtteri punching a hole in the air for his teammate here, and well, if we can compare their 2 times, already 0.6 of a second up on Valtteri Bottas during the course of this lap, and this could be important for Cadillac here to maybe gain 2 or 3 places on the grid, and with grid penalties to come, you know, starting maybe in the midfield. A 1:49.3 is the first time on the board.
Yes, as you say, with grid penalties, you know, and Audi and other teams could see themselves well inside the top 10 come race day for an actual starting position.
We'll see, and I would imagine for the next run, Sergio Perez will go out ahead of Valtteri Bottas, who, by the way, has been 20th in Q1 for 6 of the 9 Grand Prix that we've had qualifying so far. So any improvement on 20th will be good, I'm sure, for him today. Last year, Kimi Antonelli was knocked out in Q1 here. This man was knocked out in Q1 last season as well. Lewis Hamilton, track limit violation. But isn't that great to see him out on track already, because they've done a fabulous job at Ferrari to pretty much rebuild major sections of his car. Crashed in FP3, they've replaced the gearbox as a precaution and have changed the suspension, the floor and the rear wing as well, after he made that glancing blow with a barrier on the exit of the Fanier chicane. Right, on board with Max Verstappen now as he unwinds for another lap.
Lovely wide turn in, you can give up the entry to that final corner. It doesn't matter when it's the build-up lap. You get a better launch. A lot of understeer there. The front of the car did not really turn in to Lassau's hairpin. Front tyres probably not in the temperature zone that he would ideally like them, but he's got a long way to go for those to build up. At the top of the hill, then over Raidillon, and you just keep climbing, climbing, climbing. Edge it towards the left-hand side because it's a right-hander coming up to make it a bigger angle of corner, and then you can just sweep it. So satisfying. Nips a bit on that exit and then falls away from you here down the hill to a hairpin. Now this is where the braking can be tricky because you are going downhill. You need to give that a little bit of a margin. And this corner then downhill again, slightly off camber, very easy to run wide there. Max just perfectly just dipping the very, very outside of the tyre into the gravel. Pouhon corner. They're absolutely flat out through there this year, and Lando Norris will get out of his way. Slightly uphill into Fania. You give up a bit of pace on the way in so you can really launch through the exit, but you've got to be immediately left for this horrible little right-hander, the first part of Stabilo. Now it's absolutely flat out until the final braking point into the chicane just before the pits.
So Max Verstappen fastest in the middle sector. Kimi Antonelli had 3/10 in hand on him through the first sector. George Russell was only a 10th behind his teammate. Antonelli goes to the middle part of the lap, actually lost 6/10 to Max Verstappen in that second sector. So could be a bit neck and neck here as Gasly and Colapinto go through to record their first times. Verstappen with a 1:45.9, straight then into the 1:45s. Has Kimi Antonelli got more pace, first and third sector, than Verstappen makes up in the middle sector? No, by nearly 4/10, Verstappen is ahead. That is a bit of a surprise to a lot of people here, but not Martin Brundle, who said it could be a lot closer than you think. George Russell behind his teammate within about 1/10.5 of a second, and that's as close as George Russell's got to his teammate so far this weekend, as Behrman goes 5th fastest and ahead of the Alpine and his teammate Esteban Ocon.
Longest circuit on the calendar by margin, actually, so you tend to get bigger gaps around there. Lindblad with a stunning time up there in second place at the moment, just 1/4 of a second shy of Max Verstappen.
We've become used as Carlos Sainz goes 5th fastest. Now, I think Williams have definitely practiced the slipstream there, because look, Alex Albon crosses the line a couple of tenths after his teammate, and he was behind him by the time he finished his lap. I think he was ahead of him when they started. Lawson goes 5th fastest. Across the line goes Charles Leclerc. We've been used to the Racing Bulls putting in some decent lap times this weekend, but for Arvid Lindblad to be ahead still of Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, that is an exceptional time for a young man driving here for the first time in Formula One.
I've very rarely seen a young driver look so comfortable so quickly getting into Formula One as Arvid Lindblad.
Lewis Hamilton crosses the line 7th fastest only. We're on board now with Isaac Hadjar. He puts in the second best time so far. Go to Bernie Collins in a moment. Just get a little read on who's on new tyres, who's on soft tyres, because that can make a difference in the pecking order too. As Piastri crosses the line only 7th, but ahead of Lawson and ahead of Hamilton. Norris to the line now, goes quickest by 6/100ths of a second. Norris, Verstappen, Hadjar, Lindblad, the top 4, which is a bit of a surprise there. Bernie Collins, who's on new tyres and who's on used?
Yeah, pretty straightforward at the minute, Coffee. Everyone on new set of soft tyres this first run of Q1. Most of the field have got 4 sets available for the 3 sessions. The only exception is Alpine have got 5 sets available for the 3 sessions.
So, Martin Brundle, it's nothing to do with tyres.
We lost a lot of temperature in the garage.
Albeit, you get the feeling Lewis's tyres were a little bit too cold for
Yeah,
his
he's
liking.
talking of tyre temperatures, I'd be pretty sure there. Yes, so there's no differentiation on the tyres. They all went out with a brand new set, and so we're comparing apples with apples up there at the moment at the top, all through, with 7 and 3/4 minutes remaining. Of course, you've got a long out lap there, you've got a long in lap to get back to the pits in the first place, but that becomes progressively, as the time shortened through Q2 and Q3, more of an issue.
So Arvid Lindblad's trying to replicate what his teammate Liam Lawson did at Silverstone, of course. Liam was second fastest in Q1, qualified 10th eventually for that race, but the Racing Bulls, as it was at times last year, just seems like a really easy package to handle and to drive for the 2 drivers, and capable of a few surprises.
It's beautifully engineered. We were looking around it. We remember we were in the garage in the pre-show, and I was poking around it, and beautiful, relatively straightforward. A car that functions quite well, doesn't it, to see the drivers. It gives the drivers confidence.
So Franco Colapinto studying the data. He's got at least 300s to make up to try and get himself out of the elimination zone. Esteban Ocon is down there. He's only reached Q2 once in the last 5 races. Sergio Perez ahead of Valtteri Bottas, who, surprise, surprise, is 20th, where he's been 6th out of the 9 qualifying sessions for Grand Prix so far. And then it's Alonso and Stroll in the Aston Martins that are still waiting for that upgrade, and it can't come fast enough, and it should come for Budapest. Bernie Collins, to you.
Yeah, just a quick one. There's a big gap, obviously, between Bortolado and Carlos Sainz, and that's sort of maybe where you might expect the cut-off might come. People might gain 4 or 5 tenths into the second run. Verstappen sounding very confident coming into the garage there, discussing with GP if he should do another run unused, just so he gets a feel for it. They're happy, obviously, with that position that he is through, but Max said no, he doesn't even want to go out on the used tyres. He's happy where he is, keep the new tyre reference and sit in the garage and wait to the beginning of Q2.
GP being Giampiero Lambiase, his race engineer for the time being, before he moves to a new role, a more senior role with McLaren in the next 12 months or so.
Yeah, it's a funny old business when you're in a team with all experience at some point and you've decided you're moving on, or somebody else has decided for you that you're moving on, and suddenly, especially towards the end of the season, you become persona non grata. You don't get the knowledge, the information, because you're off, and somebody you were so close to, a team you're so close to, suddenly you're a bit of an outsider.
Yeah, at some stage they're going to have to find a replacement for GP, and a regular replacement as well, which I assume would involve Max Verstappen in that choice. There's no point having, a full-time world champion and not using his guidance.
Assuming Max is at Red Bull, of course.
Ah, yeah. See, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. There is that story, as we saw Oscar Piastri's car there as well. Maybe a swap. Verstappen and Piastri set the internet ablaze, that one, a few days ago. Oscar Piastri's manager Mark Webber tells me there's absolutely no truth in it whatsoever, but we know that the Verstappens have been to see, and the Verstappen management has been to see Zak Brown, the CEO at McLaren. So watch this space. We're officially in silly season.
It's incredible how that knowledge gets out, isn't it? private meetings. Absolutely extraordinary. Always has. Even if you meet on a deserted airfield somewhere, and I've actually done that when I was managing a driver to do a deal, and somehow you still get noted, or a pilot tells somebody, or without realising what they're telling, and news always gets out. It's a very small business we're in here.
I live very near an airfield, and I can tell when Max Verstappen is at Red Bull when he's flown in, because it's the noisiest plane that lands at that airfield. And I just get onto flight radar. Oh yeah, Max is in the sim again. It's easy to find. In fact, I actually think there is a social media account that follows Max's plane around the world. If you want to know where he is, you can always track it. Nothing is private, as you say, Martin. Right, 3.5 minutes just over to go here. Kimi Antonelli finds himself as the 5th fastest driver, which at the moment is not too much of an issue, because he should be comfortably through to Q2. However, it's not quite the script that was being suggested after practice a little earlier today. Everyone's out on the track, apart from Bortoletto, Hadjar, Verstappen and Norris. As Bernie said, that cut-off should be Gabriel Bortoletto, but there are others that are faster than him that want a bit more practice.
Yeah, you can only refuel in the garage. That's why they always have to wheel them in, unless they're going to do a racing-style pit stop and carry more fuel on the first part of the run. But they wouldn't want to be doing that around here if they can help it. So, Kimi Antonelli, let's see what he's got absolutely as a potential. They're looking very used, aren't they, those tyres? So it'll be, if he can get into the 45s on those, that will be a very good sign.
Everybody ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto that's gone out are all on used tyres. Below Bortoletto, they're on the new tyres, so give themselves extra grip and hopefully for that driver extra pace as well.
Yeah, there's no point in sending some brand new tyres back you didn't use if you're struggling to get into Q2 and Q3. You might as well use them.
Now, have they timed it right with Antonelli as well? Is he going to encounter traffic on this lap as the drivers tend to back up a little bit, making themselves a touch of space before they start their flying lap? That was pretty nifty.
Wow, barely lifted off the throttle through there. This is flat out. You hear the engine dull because of the lateral force going through the car, basically, and the car gripping up. Fania chicane, having to just jockey the steering wheel a little bit in there to keep it where he wants it on the track. Ride the curb through the exit there. You don't want to use too much curb on the way in, Stavler. It'll upset the car. Stay within track limits, but the gravel kind of fixes that issue there. Open the wings for a while. There are 5 of those around the track where you can dump drag and save some power.
And they have timed it right, and everyone is through to start their final flying lap of this Q1 session, long before Kimi Antonelli makes his way towards this final chicane. Now, the projected cut-off time of a 1:47.1. Plus or minus a couple of tenths, that is important for those trying to get out of that bottom 6. And of those in that bottom 6, you'd think that Colapinto would be the leading contender, thinking I should really be down there. Bottas moves up at the end of his lap, so does Perez into 18th and 19th. George Russell goes 4th fastest. Kimi Antonelli and now down to 6th. Carlos Sainz stays 12th fastest. He's on the cusp. Might be the right side of it, we shall see. Lindblad doesn't improve on the used tyres, and Lawson next across the line doesn't improve either. Esteban Ocon will need to improve. It's going to be his fastest lap, but it doesn't get him out of the bottom 6. He's 18th. Behrman goes to P13, which should see him through, you would think, into Q2. Charles Leclerc ahead of Antonelli and goes 6th fastest. Alonso next across the line. He's at the back of the grid, come what may, and well, he's qualified at the back of the grid anyway. Here's Alex Albon, then moves ahead of Gasly and ahead of Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is going well. Gasly, meanwhile, is improving in the middle sector, but not during the sector 1. So it's touch and go for Pierre Gasly a bit, who finds himself right on the edge here. Hulkenberg, P12. Here comes Lewis Hamilton next across the line, goes 4th fastest. Now it's all about survival. Pierre Gasly is the next one to cross the line, moves up into 12th fastest, so it's Colapinto or Albon racing for a place in Q2. And Alex Albon has missed out, sadly for him and for Williams, as Franco Colapinto makes it out. And Ollie Behrman, I said he should be okay with that time, by about 7/1000ths of a second, he made it.
Yeah, by the skin of his teeth. So the Audi's going better towards the end of that session as well. Piastri struggling for ultimate pace again for some reason around here. I mean, he was brilliant here last year, wasn't he? In the ground effect cars was Oscar Piastri, but right up top, Lando Norris. George Russell found a chunk of time on the used tyres. That's good that one, George.
Certainly was. 7/1000ths of a second then, the wrong side of the line for Alex Albon, who qualified 5th on the grid here at Spa last year. His best qualifying performance of the season, but it's another Q1 exit for he and for Williams. Sainz does make it through, but your bottom 6, Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso for Aston Martin, 5th time in a row. They're the slowest qualifiers. Perez and Bottas, Ocon and Albon.
Sorry, nice effort.
Yeah, copy. I tried to go closer to the cars in front, but didn't seem to make much of a difference, to be honest.
And sadly for Esteban Ocon, there was about 7/10 of a second worth of difference separating himself and the nearest car. Fernando Alonso back of the grid. Penalties along with his teammate Lance Stroll. Welcome back to Spa. 7/1000ths of a second, the wrong side of the line for Alex Albon. He's out in Q1 for a 6th time in 10 qualifying sessions this season.
That was a bit too, it was, I think.
Alex, you've been really strong all weekend. We just need to give you a better car, but it was good laps. We'll come back again.
Yep.
And he makes his way into the pits. On the pit wall is team boss James Vowles, who can join us live now. It was close, James, but sadly couldn't find that extra 7 milliseconds.
Yeah, you summarised it. The gaps are pretty fine margins at the moment. He was actually up relative to quite a few of the cars. The last corner wasn't perfect, but irrespective, my point still stands. We need to make a better car.
Carlos radioed in to say that it feels completely different to free practice 3. Can you put any meat on the bone for us on that?
We've changed quite a bit on the car. There was an offset between the two drivers most of the weekend. Some of it on Friday we can understand. We were trying different items between the two cars. And then in FP3, that car was a pretty sorted car, and as much as the spec was where we wanted it to be, and you still saw that gap between the two drivers. So we made some changes, did some component changes, and that looks as though it's put the car in a much better place.
And just for all the Williams fans watching, James, and there are many around the world, when does that better car arrive?
I think they're just making sure everyone's expectations are in check. We are doing a lot of work towards post-August break, but even then, I would say it'll be a step forward, but the field is incredibly both tight and developing very rapidly, so hard to really predict where it's going to end up. But there's a lot of work going into that package. It's
Albon, Akin, Bottas, Perez, Alonso and Stroll are eliminated from Q2.
We'll speak to you after Q2. Let's see what Carlos Sainz could do with that. Williams haven't reached Q3 this season, but Sainz did reach SQ3 for the sprint in Montreal. And that development race that James Vowles was touching on, obviously not something that Aston Martin have got involved with until next weekend with a new car. And once again, Martin, a long, long way off the pace.
Yeah, over 4 seconds off the pace, which is an eternity in this business. So they've got a lot of time to find from the chassis and from the power unit. You were saying you think it's a little bit overweight as well. I'm pretty sure they'll come back a lot stronger than that in 2027. In fact, they will come back a lot stronger than that in 2027.
So, Q1 done and dusted. Time to get on with Q2. And this could be very
Q2
tight.
is
Trying to
underway.
get out of this session as well. Bernie Collins is keeping an eye on tyre strategy for us.
Of course, Crofty. So I think that the drivers that only have one new set of soft for this session are Hulkenberg, Sainz and Behrman. Everyone else, my numbers are correct, has 2 new sets of soft should they need to use them in this session. Obviously we expect the front runners to try and get through on just one and have 2 sets available for Q3.
That comes in very, very handy, obviously.
Yeah, if you're new to Formula One, welcome. The difference between, I mean, we talk about new and used. The used one will have done 3 laps. That's 21 kilometres.
That's a lot.
I mean,
It's a lot to be
15
asked
miles
for.
or something. There's not a whole lot in it, but they've had a heat cycle, and you've taken some life out of the surface of the tyre, and you just lose a little bit of grip everywhere. Particularly in the traction zones where you want the mechanical grip of that fresh tyre. You can brake a little bit later, you've got a bit more front grip, you can take 1 or 2 miles an hour more into an apex and pick up the throttle. Mixing up with meters now, but pick up the throttle a little bit earlier, and just somehow it's free time. It's free time. You don't even often drive the car that differently. It just carries more speed everywhere.
It's not an exact science. Some people gain on the used tyres. George Russell, for instance, and that can give that driver confidence on a second lap. But Gabriel Bortoleto, from his used tyre run to his new tyre run on the softs in Q1, difference of 0.5 of a second. And that's the kind of thing that you would expect. Look how shiny and wonderful most of those tyres are down there, and how dull they're all going to look when they come back after a couple of laps or 3 laps.
There's nothing on them to make them shiny. It's just where they come out of the mould. We used to have a thing called releasing agent. We talked about reliable informed a very long time ago. That doesn't happen. It's just the mould makes them shiny.
Onto the racetrack then for George Russell. He puts. It seems like most have gone for right. We're going to get the soft tyres on straight away. Max Verstappen saying in Q1, I don't want to go out for a run on the used. Just give me the new here as my reference point, and I'll sort out the rest.
Yeah, others. I mean, George Russell. It was a sighter lap, really, isn't it? When you go on the used ones, although he did, as you say, went faster, but it is just getting your eye in basically for when it really matters in Q3.
If he does it again, he might insist on some used tyres at the sharp end of Q3. You know, it becomes a bit of a pattern by that stage. Right, so he wasn't the fastest man then, Kimi Antonelli, in the first part of qualifying. He has got through to the second part of qualifying, which is not something he managed last year, and had a pit lane start in the end here in what was his rookie season in Formula 1. Incredible to believe that Kimi Antonelli goes into this weekend championship leader and just his 34th Grand Prix.
That session also told us there's nothing wrong with Lewis Hamilton's fixed Ferrari in terms of when it was bouncing across a rough piece of ground, having just been in the barriers in free practice 3 earlier on today, because he was flying along nicely at the end of that session. Yeah,
nor, I dare say, it's confidence too, because you know, for some, when you've had a moment like that where you've clipped a wall and done a lot of damage, it just holds you back by half a tenth of a second through there, but it didn't seem to be the case, that is for sure.
Yeah, when you get to this level, that's just wipe and go. That is in your head. It's not going to impact on you.
Right, 34th Grand Prix this weekend for Kimi Antonelli as he makes his way into the source. Saw him in practice really late on the final downshift, going into that corner, really aggressive gear changes, and then that acceleration out, and was doing him wonders in the first sector. He was sailing away and miles clear on the first part of the lap.
Yeah, it helps him to charge the battery up, doesn't it, with the revs and what have you. So they've been tending to use much shorter gears in the slow corners all season.
30.1 for Kimi Antonelli. We'll keep an eye on that. 3/10 up on Gasly, 4/10 up on Colapinto, who've gone through a little further ahead. His teammate George Russell is only just behind him on the road. Russell goes through that first sector at a 30.3.
That was a good first sector from Antonelli. I think there's no doubt about that. Let's see what the middle sector can do for him. It's a long one, it's 46 seconds.
And most of it involves plunging downhill from the top of the track at Malmedy. You just keep going down and down and down. There's a little bit of a rise here as you make your way towards the Spanish chicane, but then it just drops down once again. You're better off in a Formula 1 car than you are trying to run it. It's just a killer on the knees, this bit. But Antonelli taking it wide to the extremities of the track, but not kicking up the gravel, which was good to see. A 46.6 for him in the middle sector. And we'll keep an eye once again on his teammate George Russell and try and make that direct comparison. And he was about 1/10 of a second faster than Russell through the middle part of the lap.
Yeah, so it's putting 4/10 up on his teammate so far in this lap. And this is such a tight little exit on the chicane here. And then you stay right, shortest run to the line, which is not very far away. That's a proper lap time. Low 1:45. That's serious.
That is a 1.2 second improvement on his best time in Q1 is what that lap was, and it's half a second clear of George Russell, and that's the gap that we've been seeing for most of this weekend between the two Mercedes. On board now with Carlos Sainz in the Williams, as Ollie Behrman on the used tyres can only do a 1:40. 1:47.4. It is, though, about a 1/10 of a second behind Sainz. Next across the line will be Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull, and he goes third fastest. And we can ride on board now with his teammate Max Verstappen, who was, what, 0.04 of a second away from being knocked out in Q2 in Austria. It might not have that problem today. Goes ahead of George Russell and second behind Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, interestingly, Verstappen was 3/4 faster than the Mercedes through the middle sector of the lap. And Piastri then well into the 1:45s now as well. That's much better for him.
Lindblad closed third fastest. He was half a second down in the first sector, though Max Verstappen is. The Red Bull's got the downforce in the middle part of the lap. Liam Lawson, 8th fastest, and you'll notice on the Red Bull, that Macarena wing that we've become used to with a big gap for the aero, that's not on the car this weekend, as Lando Norris goes second fastest. They're still trying to fix the issue that saw Max go off into the gravel at Silverstone, so they've gone back to the old wing, lost performance, but it should keep the drivers on the track. Leclerc now second fastest, Hamilton 4th fastest, so Leclerc moves ahead of his teammate as Hulkenberg only P13 in the Audi. And behind Kimi Antonelli, they're all queuing up to try and get someone near the front row. And for George Russell, the nearest challenger of the championship to his teammate, he finds himself P8 at the moment.
Yeah, he's going to be very nervous on that at the moment as George Russell. He needs another lap. Bernie Collins, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I was just going to say the car's all nicely spread out through that lap. Aside from two that really struck me, the Audi's really trying hard to get a tow. Bortoletto up in P10. He left the pit lane just behind Verstappen, hung on to him as much as he could through the outlap, and then had a beautiful tow through the start of the flying lap, which obviously gained him that straight line speed down to turn 5. Obviously then the Red Bull gradually over the lap opens a gap and pulls away, but it really helps in the first sector. Hulkenberg did the same with Lewis Hamilton, tried to hold on through the outlap and then got this beautiful tow to clear some of that air out of the way down to turn 5, and really helped, I think. The Audi's playing a good game there by trying to be towed from someone else, not hampering one lap over the other, but trying to gain that position through Q2. So let's see what happens in the second run that they'll all attempt to do.
Yeah, TOW, it's a slipstream, basically, where the car in front's punching a nice hole in the air, helping you along the straights. It hurts you through the corners, and that's why, as Bernie was saying, that's why they have to get it strategically absolutely right.
Tell you what, if you're going to pick a driver that's not your teammate to get a slipstream behind, Max Verstappen's probably the one to go for, given how well that Red Bull is performing in the middle sector, and will then pull away because its pace is better than anything else. You can afford to get a bit closer, knowing that they're probably going to pull away and not disturb you too much in the next part of the lap.
And you can see right at the moment, Max 5th, a 1/10 of a second would put him probably 3rd. That's going to be critical,
yeah,
up the front there. So, all down, sort of low to mid 1:45s. Some solid lap times out there. We'll see what they can do on their second attempt.
In the low-speed corners, the Mercedes 3/10 up on the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, or the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli. Good little comparison there for us. It'll be new tyres for everyone in that bottom 6 when we go for the next runs. Just over 5 minutes to go of this so far, and we'll see if the likes of Lawson, Gasly can make an impression maybe on the top 10. You rather get the feeling that Hulkenberg is a bit too far away with 7/10 off his teammate currently.
And what's George going to do? Is he going to have to sacrifice a set of fresh soft compound tyres?
It's a tough one. Bernie, if you were back on the pit wall doing strategy here, you would say to yourself, okay, P8, we might have to sacrifice here. But in terms of the actual time that those need to make up, is George Russell safe?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Carl. So there's 3 drivers out there that did that first run unused. They're Hulkenberg, Carlos Sainz and Behrman. They're the ones that are unused. So if we look at, let's say, Lawson in P11, his gap to Hulkenberg around 5/10. I don't think he can get that with a second new tyre run. So that's what the Mercedes pit wall will be looking at. So I think they'll feel they're safe as we watch Hadjar go on the new, but I think they'll feel they're safe and maybe do a used run, but try and hold on to those 2 new sets for Q.
It's a tricky one, Martin, because you've got to be in it to win it. You don't want to miss out.
No, especially if the track, you get a bit of evolution on the track, it cleans up a bit, temperatures all, we're now 25 to 5 in the evening, so you're getting close to happy hour there, where everything starts to cool down a little bit. So it's a nervy time, particularly for Piastri and Russell in there.
But he's gone out, George Russell. already, as has Isaac Hadjar. Bernie, you've got the data right in front of you. New or used for George?
Well, actually, my data's come up as unknown. So stand by, Crofty. Stand by. I'll go the onboard. I'll come back to you.
It's just showing now, I think, is used on something we got in here, but Piastri definitely was on brand new tyres.
Yeah, used agree for Russell. I agree with Martin.
Interesting that McLaren have gone the other way. See, this is you get all the data, but then it's down to interpretation and preference and choice.
And are you going to wing it or not? And we've seen over the years, haven't we, how many serious teams and drivers have missed out when they think they're safe and they're not.
They've become an absolute cropper. As I mentioned, Max Verstappen 4/100ths a second away from being knocked out in Q2 in Austria because they decided to put on a set of used soft tyres for his second run in that part of qualifying, which turned out to be an absolute masterstroke, to be fair, but they just got away with it and was probably a little too close for comfort if they're being honest. It came to nothing sadly for Max because he crashed at the end of Q3, but he was looking pacey. 1:45.8 is that projected cut-off time.
Yeah, so we know that there's two sort of top 10 runners in Lando Norris and Isaac Hadjar who will get grid penalties. Hadjar will be at the back, he's had so many new bits, so it's a question of the damage limitation for Lando Norris, isn't it?
But I think it's important here for Red Bull that Isaac Hadjar does get through into Q3. They will want him there to give them the option of a slipstream for Max Verstappen should he need to be driving for his teammate, and he would do so because there would be no penalty in Q3 to him whatsoever because he is starting at the back of the grid, but he's got to get there first and he's right on the borderline.
And it might stop a rival team getting into the top 10 shootout as well if he can get a good, he needs a good time in this session to keep somebody out.
It's about first sector for him though, 30.6. Behind him, Pierre Gasly puts in a 30.4, so already nearly 2/10 up on Isaac Hadjar's time as he makes his way around the hairpin of Rivage. No-name corner. They're treating that with a bit more respect in this qualifying session than we saw in the practice sessions. A lot of drivers going wide there and dipping a tyre into the gravel.
Yeah, although it was a personal best, although it was a bit steady at 30.6, so maybe he's got a bit more pace through the rest of the lap. Upshifting through there. Wow. And likes to turn in off the curb, which I would have thought unstabilises the car, but he's got enough downforce to cope with it.
Yeah, it's a decent middle sector for him, albeit not a personal best. That 46.6 keeps him very much. Pierre Gasly, who I was comparing Hadjar to, a 47.3. So Gasly lost out 7/10 of the 2/10 that he had in hand. So there's half a second difference, and it's all in Isaac Hadjar's favour currently.
Car rotated really nicely into that final chicane, really on the nose. But stays 9th.
Yeah, 1:45.8 doesn't really improve his position much in terms of the overall time. Gasly next across the line. Can he get out of the bottom 6? No, he can't. He misses out by a couple of tenths of a second.
Checkered flag.
Is his teammate Franco Colapinto going to do it? No, it's not. So Alpine missing out. Gasly still doesn't have a Q3 appearance here since 2021, and that's 4 races in a row he's not made it into Q3. And Carlos Sainz, 15th, means Williams still haven't made it into Q3 this season. George Russell's going to be safe here. One by one, they're failing to take any extra hold. Ollie Behrman's on a personal best lap. He crosses the line only 16th fastest. Charles Leclerc just, did he take the flag? Yes, he did take the flag, Charles Leclerc. Arvid Lindblad goes 6th fastest, so nothing really changed too much towards the end of that Q2 session.
And McLaren were monitoring that and abandoned Piastri's lap because he didn't need to do it, so at least it keeps a little bit of freshness in that set to start Q3 on.
This one though, Liam Lawson, we should watch. He's missed out by just under 4/100ths of a second, keeping Gabriel Bortoleto in that top 10. That was unlucky for Lawson there, just needed a fraction more in the final sector and he would have made it, but he is one of 6 that don't go through to the top 10 shootouts. Lawson misses out along with Gasly and Colapinto and Hülkenberg and Sainz and Behrman for Haas. Fastest driver, Kimi Antonelli, 1.2 seconds quicker than he was in Q1. Spa, Nico Hülkenberg out in Q2, but not making his way back to the pits. As you can see, the car coming to a stop just out and past the no-name corner, right in front of the banked grandstands, and the marshals holding that in place because it is a very, very steep slope. But what was the issue? Let's ride on board and see if we can find out.
Sorry, Nico, we need to stop the car. We need to stop the car. We have a hydraulic leak.
Just when we thought Martin Brundle, has he run out of fuel? No, hydraulic leak.
Yeah, and he smartly turned it towards a little service road there, and as he got out of it, started rolling down the hill. That's actually the hill down to Pouhon corner, but yeah, sad news for them. And of course, you don't want to carry on if you've got a hydraulic leak. You can suddenly start breaking bits and pieces all over the car.
It does mean a slight delay to the start of Q3. We haven't got a resumption time as yet. It does mean as well that Gabriel Bortoleto, who was through to the final part of this qualifying session, has levelled up the head-to-head battle at Audi, 5 apiece now between Nico Hülkenberg, who's only reached Q3 once this season in Barcelona, and his teammates. Liam Lawson missed out for the first time in 5 qualifying sessions on a place in the top 10. We can head down to the sky pad. Karun Chandon. To show the difference between the two drivers, and no more so than into that final chicane. You know, and Kimi's just like, yeah, we'll give it everything. I know exactly where this is going, and the momentum goes with it as well.
George has always had quite a smooth style, very Jensen Buttonish, I would say, in terms of how he likes to sweep the steering wheel. But whatever he's doing, it's just not paying him back as well as it's paying Kimi Antonelli back. I agree with you. It's a very nice analysis.
1.5 minutes just under until qualifying resumes at 10 to 5 local time here, after that slight delay while the marshals did a super job to get rid of Hülkenberg's Audi.
Lawson, Gasly, Colapinto, Hülkenberg, Sainz and Behrman are
then.
eliminated from
Time
Q3.
to go for pole position. Someone's got a Fernando Alonso flag to go with the Bernie Collins flag. The saintly similarities are all there, to be honest. So pole hasn't won here in any of the last 4 Belgian Grand Prix. But as I say, that's a little bit skewed by the fact that Max Verstappen had grid penalties, despite being fastest in Q3 in 3 successive years. Mercedes have taken every pole position in 2026 and are looking pretty good to make that 10 out of 10. Max Verstappen would like to be there right at the end. Obviously had that big crash at the end of Q3 in Austria. Lando Norris, by the way, in Q3 again for the 41st consecutive Q3 appearance, which I think that makes it now the 5th equal longest streak
Q3 is underway
of this format. And Arvid Lindblad being told about Gabriel Bortoleto's times, and there is Gabriel Bortoleto over the team radio, has just said, I don't really care about Bortoleto, we're fighting for something a bit more special today.
I think he's right. I mean, Bortoleto now is guaranteed to be at least 8th on the grid, isn't he, when Leclerc and Hadjar take, Norris and Hadjar take their penalties. But we know that Lindblad won the right by being fastest qualifier in Silverstone to the new parts, the majority of the new parts on the racing balls, and he's certainly putting them to very good use.
Highest qualifying so far in Formula 1 of P9. So let's see if he can go better today. We're waiting in the pit lane with Lando Norris to get out onto the track. So while we do that, Bernie Collins, what you got for us?
Yeah, just quickly on tyres and Crofty. The 4 drivers that have a used set or 1 new set for this session. Those 4 are 3 that you would expect. So Arvid Lindblad, Hadjar and Bortoleto have only got 1 new set. So I expect correctly noted started that lap in Q2 but then aborted sort of halfway around it. So let's call his a half-used set. But it'll appear on your screen as a
record this season, and has reached it in every single round so far as he disappears down the hill through the Fania chicane. This man, Max Verstappen, is the car directly behind him on the track. So no surprises there whatsoever. And I would imagine as he makes his way up towards the start line, Isaac Hadjar will just be slowing down to keep Max in touch a bit. Now, Gabriel Bortoleto, did he have the right there?
Yeah, he was down 3 unsafe places in 1, I think.
Well, he did have his wheel over the white line, so therefore had the right to go and push into the queue.
He certainly was clear of the white line, as you say, with a tyre. So Oscar's got very dry sense of humour. I really like it. So let's see what Hadjar can do. Max Verstappen's a very long way behind him, so we'll not be getting a slipstream from there.
No. Isaac Hadjar through Eau Rouge as Max Verstappen gets to La Source. So they've not quite timed it right on this particular bit.
it suggests to me they weren't trying to be honest. I say you can try too hard to choreograph a slipstream and just mess it right up, but Hadjar, we know, will be on the back of the grid with a lot of new parts that he's had to take in the power unit and battery store and what have you.
Yeah, let's see if they try it next time around. Interestingly, both drivers 30.5 through that first sector, but that's about 4/10 of what is the best first sector time and 3/10 of what Kimi Antonelli has just put in for Mercedes. The interesting thing for Mercedes is that George Russell was also a 30.2, for once neck and neck with his teammates through that first sector.
And it bodes well for Mercedes to be quick in that first sector in terms of raceability tomorrow, doesn't it? And that's where a lot of the overtaking is done, and Hadjar slows right down then.
So he's going to give the toe through after Curva Paul Frere all the way up to the bus stop chicane. So that's where they've decided is the best toe. Max has got the momentum coming out of that middle sector, and they think, Red Bull, that they can get more advantage. There's Hadjar, got going now to give him the toe here, and it's a really nice toe that Max Verstappen is getting, and this is where teamwork really could pay dividends here. No disruption for Isaac Hadjar, because he will start at the back of the grid, so he's done his bit for his teammate here, and Max Verstappen will cross the line with a couple of tenths, I think, extra pace after Isaac Hadjar's duties there. 1:44.9, first driver this weekend into the 1:44s, and it's Max Verstappen. Antonelli crosses the line, and the difference is about 1/10 of a second. George Russell next across the line, 3/10 down on his teammate, and that was the benefit of the toe right there for Red Bull. Arvid Lindblad, 1.2 seconds off the pace, but that P4 might not drop down the order too much. Charles Leclerc goes onto the front row. What a lap from Charles Leclerc as Gabriel Bortoletto is behind Lindblad. Oscar Piastri will be next across the line, P5 just ahead of the Racing Bulls. Lando Norris has got a 10-place grid penalty. Fastest in the middle sector as Lewis Hamilton goes on to the second row. Now Lando Norris, who goes quickest? Well, at 1:44.8. And Lando Norris, who was on pole here at Spa last year, is currently fastest in Q3 12 months later.
Cracking lap from Lando Norris. He might have had a nice little slipstream, a distant slipstream from Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, judging by the distance they're apart. So, game on. Tremendous. Top three, all in the 1:44.8.
So Kimi Antonelli is on provisional pole because of Lando Norris's 10-place grid penalty for taking on new control electronics. You're allowed a certain allocation during the course of the year, and this is his first one outside of that allocation. But boy, is that much closer. Less than 2/10 separating the first 4 drivers, and less than 3/10 separating the first 5 drivers. And George Russell finding himself there down in P6.
All of that lost turn 14 and the run to turn 18.
So we lost everything but right.
Pretty much, George, yes. So what can they do to improve things for George Russell?
14 was that tricky little first part of Stavolo.
This is Oscar Piastri before he gets to that tricky corner.
Yeah, turn 14. Yeah.
Tricky, right?
Yeah, it is. And yeah, and then you lose speed all the way to the final chicane. Ferdy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, just having a quick listen in with Kimi Antonelli, and he's told that he's losing a 10th to Norris, turn 5 and turn 12. So that's what they're trying to focus him on. Obviously, he's gaining on Norris in other places, but that's what they're telling him to focus is turn 5 and turn 12.
That's the 2 chicanes at Le Combe and at Fagnier as well.
Yeah, corner entry speed, isn't it? Talking about there. So they've got GPS data. They know exactly what all the other teams are doing.
Red flag.
So, oh, we've got a red flag. I wonder if there's gravel on the track. We saw Oscar Piastri dipping a tyre into the gravel down at Stavolo at turn 14. And I wonder if there's a bit too much gravel there and we need to sweep up the track. This is something that happened yesterday in FP2. The first red flag we had there was for a bit of a track maintenance.
And that's hurt nobody because they're all in the pit lane or in the garage. So while they clear, which I'm sure is, if it is to clear gravel, it's very strategic in terms of timing of that red flag. And they're saying the track is clear. No, there it is.
It's not. There's still a bit of gravel on there. So people with brooms assemble and we'll get that gravel swept away. And what you don't want is any car picking up a puncture because of that, and that puncture causing something unexpected through a corner like Blanchimont, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, in the race, you can't legislate against that. That'll, there's no way you can stop the race to clean that up. There'll be cars out there fairly frequently, I'm going to imagine, because you have to take so much speed for that corner, and there's nowhere to go on the exit if you have a little slide in the middle of the front car or the back of the car. It's a really clumsy little corner that makes the difference, and that's the one where George Russell has been told he's losing a little bit of time to his teammates. So it was Piastri's half-used tyres, wasn't it? But they all get to go again.
Lando Norris said he would like to go out again. Now he's taking that 10th place grid penalty, but I think, does he feel it's so tight there that if he doesn't go out again, he could easily end up P5 in this session, starting 15th rather than first or second and starting 11th or 12th?
Yeah, if he can be fastest, that means he's going to start 10th, doesn't it, by the time Hadjar's taken his penalty, which is a bit of a save, you'd have to say, if he can do that.
Just looking on the underside of his car. A bit of glue there, they're just fixing something into place. No notice of a resumption as yet. I sit watching Isaac Hadjar. Do Red Bull do exactly what they did before?
Interesting concept, isn't it, to give you that slipstream at the end of the lap, not the beginning of the lap. It's quite unusual, that. But I guess what you can't do is have both, because as we said, you've got 45 seconds down the hill where your slipstream giver is hurting your downforce because he's sending you a lot of hot, turbulent air.
I suppose we're used to the slipstream being offered up in the first sector because that was DRS in those days, and that was the big DRS zone, so it would make more sense to do that. Now, Active Aero hasn't replaced DRS, and it just dumps a whole load of drag, so if you've got momentum coming through that middle sector, keep that momentum going with a nice slipstream through caution.
You really want to build the speed at the beginning of a straight because you get the bonus all the way down then, because the drag starts kicking in, the drag squares with speed, and so obviously as you get up towards a couple of 100 miles an hour, you've got huge amounts of drag, so you really want to get, if you can, earlier in the straight, which again, they kind of did that, didn't they? So Max came out of Stablo and was picking up his slipstream straight away.
Yes. We have got 3.5 minutes until we resume again. So this red flag is helping the repairs down at McLaren. It's giving them a little bit of extra time. Bernie, to you.
Yeah, I was just going to come in a bit on the Norris decision, really, Crocky there. Obviously, the team is playing with they know he's got that penalty. What can they do in terms of saving tyres for Sunday? You might think it's going to be a one-stop race, medium hard. He's got loads of those tyres available. But what happens if there's a last-minute safety car, a last-minute red flag, or any of these things? So the team will have done their numbers on what they think holding on to the new soft will be worth for Lando Norris, and that could be crucial come Sunday.
It's a fair point. What would you do, Bernie?
I would try and get Lando Norris to stay in the garage. But I know that drivers think very differently to engineers. But it'll all come down, what numbers they've done, what they'll have basically overnight last night looked at what a new versus used soft will do to his expected finish position at the end of Sunday should he need it. So they'll have all that ready to go, and it's just risk v reward. Sometimes it is about keeping your driver happy as well, but that's what they'll be trying to play with. They'll be trying to say, should we stay in the garage? But obviously then there's a chance you pop down another place or two. But what they're looking at is the places that you're playing with. Let's say he loses another position to Lawson or Gasly, he should be easily able to overtake them on Sunday. So although they are losses of grid position, they're not expected losses in finisher position.
Exactly. It's a lot of debate over 21 kilometres.
Yeah, it's sort of, is it a bird in the hand with an extra grid slot or two, or do you want the performance tomorrow? Will you even get on the soft tyres tomorrow? Certainly if there's a later safety car, you unquestionably would. But it's chicken and egg, that one, isn't it?
It is a bit. Once again, as it stands at the moment, we do have an instance of a driver who is fastest in Q3 not starting from pole in the race tomorrow, and 3 of the last 5 occasions have all taken place here in Belgium. It's 6 as it stands currently. In Qatar in 2024, Max Verstappen for dangerous driving, fastest in Q3, didn't get pole. Then there were the power unit gearbox penalties in 24 and 23 here. Kevin Magnussen in the sprint race format in 2022, he officially got pole that weekend. And didn't start the Grand Prix on pole because we had a sprint race which decided the order for the grid for the Grand Prix, and then Verstappen here in 22 as well.
I like Bernie's concept of keeping the driver happy. That's quite novel. I think I don't remember much of that in my career. It's the new caring, sharing, loving world, isn't it?
You've taught me that, Martin, in the last few years that we've been working together.
Oh, come on. You work with some benevolent, kind-hearted, wonderful, charitable human beings over the years.
I did.
And then some team bosses as well.
And then I got into Formula 1.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping the driver happy. Well, they get the closest parking spots to the paddock every time. So what more do you drivers want?
They don't even drive in themselves.
Exactly.
To drop them off. Best job is to look.
Q3 has resumed.
And the rip-offs as well. That's a good job. Weekend.
You've got to be organised though.
Yep.
Get the right visors.
Get the right visor on.
It's a very important job. Sun's coming out here, you know.
I don't understand why I have so many rip-offs on for qualifying. You're only ever going to need one at any one time, but
it's a fair point.
Relevant conversation, but there's nothing else going on. But I'm just surprised to see that many tear-offs on the visor.
Yeah. I suppose it depends, because you never quite know what you're going to get stuck behind or what's going to happen in front of you and how many flyers are going to be buzzing around. We have officially resumed, by the way. Once again, they're all waiting. And Bernie Collins is on the phone imploring people at McLaren to go and stand in front of Lando Norris's garage and keep him in there, yeah?
Oh no, don't worry, Crofty, I'm not getting involved in that. I was just going to come in on visor gate. I've worked with several drivers that would take off a visor every run in qualifying. So 6 runs through qualifying, they'll be taking off visor. You're almost guaranteed they're doing it as they're going down the pit lane, and then you spend the entire outlap panicking about whether it's gone into an air intake or a radiator, on why they didn't do that in the garage.
Yeah, you mean when you say that, you mean tear off on the visor?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful how you put it out of the car. But then, of course, it's the car following you that can take the pain. Brake duct, as Bernie said, or a cooling duct. Airbox. They've even ended up in airboxes sometimes, feeding the engine.
Right, here we go. Hadjar ahead of Verstappen. Antonelli ahead of Russell. Leclerc is ahead of Hamilton. Lando Norris is being lowered down onto the ground and will be making his way out into the sunshine. We've got a few qualifying clouds that are hanging around the circuit, where the sun is very much peeking through those clouds currently. Track temperature's just gone up by about a degree, which you think make no difference whatsoever. But watch this space in case it does.
Yeah, obviously less traffic, plenty of track to go out. Wonderful, wonderful experience to go out and qualify here. I mean, your car's as light as it's going to be. Everything is turned up to 11, as I said. Track is bone dry. How inviting does Eau Rouge and other corners look in these conditions?
And the last driver to cross the line will be Lando Norris behind his teammate Oscar Piastri. So the man who is fastest in Q3, there he is, will be the last one over the line as it stands to do their final qualifying run.
Hadjar's out in front of Verstappen again, so we can expect presumably the same service.
Now Bortoletto has got in between Antonelli and Russell here. So the queuing tactics at Audi seem to have worked. And so if George Russell thought that he was going to be following his teammate around, he's actually going to be following Gabriel Bortoletto, so he might need just to hang about a bit. Although, looking at the times here between Russell and Bortoletto, it's about 1.3 seconds. He might be able to pick up a toe behind Bortoletto in the way that Verstappen is picking up the toe behind Hadjar on that run out of Curve Paul Freire at turn 15 towards the bus stop chicane. Given you're expecting Russell to be quicker in the middle sector and not get too disturbed by the Audi. Watch this space if that comes to fruition. But there goes Isaac Hadjar to start his final flying lap, and here comes Max Verstappen.
Max is quite a bit closer this time. You could just see Hadjar disappearing around the source momentarily there. So Max is closer than he was last time around, and again, front of the car, a bit reluctant at the source. But he'll have that grip later on in the lap. And will he get a very distant toe from Hadjar here? And
what do they say? It's about 3.5, 4 seconds, maybe a bit more before the air kind of settles behind that car in front. Either way, Verstappen might be giving a distant toe to Kimi Antonelli too, through the first sector, a 30.4 for Verstappen, a 30.1 for Antonelli.
Yeah, that's Max's personal best, but this is not where he's at his fastest on this track with this car. It's through the middle part of the lap, 46.1. is the peak of getting through this section, absolutely on the limit of track there and using all available.
George Russell faster than his teammate through the first sector. Charles Leclerc only a tenth behind. Lewis Hamilton that same 30.1 as the two Mercedes, and Arvid Lindblad getting the same 30.1 as he gets a distant toe behind Lewis Hamilton. Bortoleto and Hadjar a long way off in terms of those first sector times, but Lindblad with the fastest first sector of the lot.
Checkered
Verstappen
flag.
is only 8/100ths off through the first two parts of the lap, and now comes the toe behind Isaac Hadjar, and he's getting a really good slipstream now, and actually might need to overtake his teammate. Does so. Did that cost Verstappen a bit of time? Did he have to check? I wonder, as he gets to the bus stop chicane, a 46.0 in the middle sector for Verstappen and Antonelli, a 46.1 for Charles Leclerc. Verstappen crosses the line on pole position, 144.6. Crowd go wild. Antonelli replaces it by 0.3 of a second. Kimi Antonelli making it a Mercedes pole position currently. His teammate George Russell very much in touch to the first two parts of the lap, and he misses out in the final sector, half a second down. So it's Antonelli, Verstappen. Here comes
Checkered
Leclerc.
flag.
No front row for the third race in a row for him. And next across the line, Hamilton can't improve. But what about Lindblad? Fastest in the first sector, personal best middle sector, P7, best qualifying ever for the young rookie in the Racing Bulls. Piastri and Norris to come, but they're not improving. Piastri crosses the line and goes ahead of Lindblad. That P8 will still be good enough for him. Lando Norris, he's not had a great middle sector and pits before the end of his lap, and he left it right until his final flying lap. But he makes it. Kimi Antonelli, 6 poles for him this season, and 10, count them, 10 out of 10 for Mercedes.
That was a cracking lap, wasn't it? But
It's P1, mate. Let's go, man. Let's go.
that was
Last
tremendous.
30 present year old, mate.
Yeah, happy birthday, Dad.
Well done, mate. Yeah, really tidy lap there.
Antonelli
Isn't it?
takes
So,
pole position for the
it
Belgian
looked
Grand
for all
Prix.
the world as if Max had just got tucked up a little bit too close behind his teammate, but it worked, didn't it? It worked.
He got a very good final sector. He just wanted to have to just check a bit before he then made the move or not. This is where Lando Norris lost time. Well, it could have been a lot worse. That is exactly where Gasly and Hamilton went off and hit the barrier.
Yeah, and that makes such a mess of the floor of the car as well. That'll take a little bit of fixing. It's entirely fixable and time-wise, but you don't want to be doing that to your aerodynamics.
So, Lando Norris will start P13 for the race tomorrow. Arvid Lindblad will start P7 as he moves up. Isaac Hadjar at the back of the grid. George Russell qualified 4th when...
That was 2.5. Hold up.
Okay, mate, that's P2. You can thank Isaac for that. It's a couple of...
Yeah, well, they're celebrating that at Red Bull. The toe worked perfectly for them. George Russell qualifies 4th when no one's won this race from at Spa. But because of Lando Norris's penalty, he manages to pass that unfortunate buck over to Charles Leclerc, who will start P4 for this race. Antonelli and Verstappen on the front row.
That'd be good down into the first corner, bit of a short run. Norris will start 12th, won't he? Because Hadjar will get to go to the back of the grid. So not too bad for Lando Norris having to take a 10th-place grid drop for a fresh motor.
Well, he was the form horse coming into qualifying, and he's had the momentum over his teammates and the rest of the field since the start of FP2. In the end, teamwork at Red Bull kept it a little closer, but even they, by working in tandem, couldn't deny Kimi Antonelli, and that's a fabulous lap, a 1:44.3 for Kimi Antonelli to take a 6th pole position of his Formula One career.
Yeah, he was floundering a little bit, wasn't he, in Q1, but then just the confidence he shows now and the maturity he shows by pumping in better and better lap times to seize that pole position.
And a very happy young man. Largest pole margin of the season as well, at 0.317 of a second. Lando Norris kind of just sat in the background there thinking, well, that's my best Q3 performance of the season that I've equalled there, but...
So Lando will be in the interviews, won't he, because he's 3rd?
Yes.
The penalty doesn't kick in until tomorrow, does it?
Yep, the grid is formed after the results of qualifying and the penalties that are then applied, which is why you can win qualifying and not have pole position. So we say, oh, Kimi's on pole. That's subject to clarification and final classification of the qualifying. It's very pedantic, I know, but them's the rules. Max Verstappen, by the way, for him. Third front row start of the season.
I bet his car was a little bit flighty through Blanchimont. Tapped up the gearbox of his teammate. I'd love to see. I'm sure we'll get that on board. That looked incredibly close, didn't it?
It certainly did. Like, when are you going to move? When are you going to pull aside? When are you going to overtake? It's got to come soon. It's got to come soon. He left it right to the last moment. Put absolute faith and trust in his teammate, and his teammate's driving there did Max Verstappen.
But a good example of how it can so easily go wrong quickly when you try to do that.
That is for sure. Ferrari might be a bit disappointed, although Charles Leclerc out-qualifying his teammate by 2/1000ths of a second. A bit disappointed to be down in 5th and 6th in the results here. A little bit off the pace. But they'll obviously move up a couple of places. Yeah, well done to Arvid Lindblad. It'll be P7 on the grid for him, his highest start in Formula 1. Naomi has the microphone and interviewing our top 3 after qualifying, so let's head down to Park.
Congratulations, Kimi Antonelli, another pole position for you this season. How does it feel? You're standing next to 2 half Belgians. Does it feel good to steal the glory from them here?
Are you half Belgian? What? Both of us. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's great to be on pole. It was not a very straightforward session. The track changed a lot, but yeah, we were able to improve lap by lap and yeah, to bring home pole, which was nice. But of course, tomorrow is another day. Obviously, I have Max starting next to me, so it's gonna be important to get a good start and then try to get, be ahead into turn 5.
You mentioned earlier in the session that the balance wasn't quite right, but you were able to change that quite quickly. How proud of you of your lap? And I mean, you've been looking in a league of your own.
Yeah, I mean, the last lap was good. I improved a lot in sector 2 especially. So yeah, it was a nice lap. Of course, there was still a little bit there and there, but it was a very clean. So very happy with that.
Fantastic. Well, coming over to you, Max. You've been looking like you're in it with a fighting chance all weekend long so far. At the end of that session, it looked like maybe the toe cost you rather than gave you an advantage. How did you do it from your point?
No. I mean, it was definitely helping me. Otherwise, I would not be standing here. Otherwise, I think you're like P6 or something. So yeah, I think Isak today, knowing that of course he had to start at the back of the grid, he did a really good job giving me a toe in the final sector, and that's why we're standing right here. So for sure tomorrow, I think I'll be looking in my mirrors at the people around me, but at least today I think we had a really good result. I think the car honestly has been quite decent the whole weekend. Of course not on the level maybe as what Kimi was doing, but yeah, we're happy of course to be on the front row with how we executed it as a team.
The long runs though did look quite positive on Friday afternoon. So with that, do you think in front of your, I guess what we can call the home crowd, what can you do for them tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough around here with the tires in the long run, but yeah, I will just do my best and see if we can hang in there or not.
Lando, coming over to you. Positive weekend for you as well. You were best of the rest yesterday, best of the rest this morning. Unfortunately, you're taking a 10-place grid penalty here. Is it the wrong weekend to be doing that now that you feel the performance is back?
I mean, we've not really changed anything. We're just a bit quicker on this track, but I mean, nice to be standing here. Just not nice knowing I have to go 10 places back tomorrow. So unfortunate that this isn't where we're genuinely starting tomorrow, because it would be nice to have a little fight with these guys. But we made the most of it. It was still a very good qualifying, a very good lap for me. So honestly, I've been pretty happy all weekend. It's a little bit of a home race, like you said, for me. So it's always a little boost here, and I performed well all weekend so far. So hopefully we can still have a good race tomorrow. We can have some fun.
So what do you think is going to be possible? Will you be fighting through the grid tomorrow?
I mean, that's certainly the plan, yeah. I don't know how far up we'll get, but the car's obviously performing well and good enough for P3 today. So we'll see. I think there's plenty of opportunity. It's a long race. Hopefully it's good for overtaking, and yeah, we can put on a bit of a show for everyone.
Fantastic. Well, Kimi, just one more for you. You have an 80% conversion rate from pole position. What can you do tomorrow to higher those stats?
Yeah, a good start, and just try to have a good pace. Of course, degradation is going to be very big, but we'll try our best in order to maximize the performance. But yeah, it's going to be fun tomorrow, and of course, thanks everyone coming this weekend. It's been amazing seeing you all.
Congratulations. Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, well done, Kimi. His 6th pole of 2026. Mercedes' first pole here at Spa since 2020, and it is also the largest pole margin of the season, over 3/10. Kimi getting a toe, it would seem, as well from Max Verstappen, who in turn got one from his teammate. It means that they would start on a very tasty front row of the grid. Alas, Lando must drop down to 12th. That is also because Isa Kadjo goes to the back of the grid. So there we go. Yeah, that could be tasty at the source tomorrow. Looking forward to that. But Kimi Antonelli, yeah, just another day at the office for a teenager who has got the world at his feet. So a 25-point lead over his teammate. We'll be hoping to extend that tomorrow. And we've got all this to look forward to in the build-up to the race.